Hey book girlies, I'm Sarah.
Hey gamer guys, it's Ian.
And you're listening to a pot of sass and sarcasm.
Yippee.
Oh my god. So, personally, I'm in kind of a very good mood today because as of the date that we are recording this, the new Ghost album came out yesterday, and I think I've listened to it approximately 1,012 times. It's so good. Every song's a bop, my guy. I'm having a blast.
You were just saying you don't like a couple of them, or a couple of them aren't quite as good as the others.
Just because they're not as good as the others doesn't mean that I don't enjoy them.
Oh, okay.
They can't all be the number one. I don't have a number one right now, but because I was about to say, like, it's between these ones, and then I was about to list, like, 5 out of the, 9 on the album. Like, that's half of them.
Mm-hmm.
But it's really good, and you guys should go listen to it, and it's a real big bop, and I'm very excited for their tour because we're actually going to get to see them, and I'm so excited. Listen to Ghost, please. It'll make your life. It'll be great. You feeling down? Listen to Ghost. You feeling good? Also listen to Ghost.
Just always be listening to Ghost.
Yeah.
ABLG.
That's the motto I live by. So I already know what you've been playing. So I'm just going to come right out and ask it. How's Oblivion been? Mostly the reason that I have to ask it is because the fact that the game's name is Oblivion, it makes my life because it's so funny with, like, I'll be like, how's Oblivion? And it's just, it sounds like I'm like, how's hell? But no.
How has Oblivion been?
All right. So it's like a revived Oblivion, right? Or like they what's the word? Not recreated, not reimagined, but like, what is it called?
It is called Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion Remastered.
Remastered! That's the word I was looking for. You're so mean.
I had to give you the full title.
Okay. Have you played the original game of Oblivion?
Yes. It is probably my all-time favorite game.
Interesting. And how does the remastered meet your expectations, or does it not meet your expectations? Does it exceed them?
I think it does a pretty good job of introducing a new audience to this game because it did need like a facelift. But I have noticed a couple things about it that I'm not too happy about, or that they had the opportunity to change and didn't. Did
they mostly just change like the graphics, or did they change the story at all, or the gameplay at all? Like what was actually happening with this remastering?
They changed up some of the animations. It's a fully retexturing, so all the assets in the game have been redone. They look really good. They have changed a couple UI elements and how some of the spell effects appear, and a couple other minor things like how it calculates leveling up as well.
So in your personal opinion, which is better, the remastered version or the OG?
I think the original has a certain charm to it of like how the characters look. Mm-hmm. Because they, even on this update, I'm going, I think I'd prefer the other face instead of this one.
So did they redesign what characters looked like, or did they I thought it was just like a retexturing.
Yeah, but when they retextured, they had an opportunity to change how some of the characters looked. Oh. And it's a little jarring sometimes. For example, one of the races, they're called Argonians. In the original one, they have pretty narrow fronts of the face, so it comes to like more of a point. Mm-hmm. Now all of them are very wide-chinned, so they look more like dragons instead of like lizards.
Oh, yeah, that would be kind of weird.
Because before it came to a very kind of sharp point, and now like all the Argonians I talk to have like chins as wide as their whole forehead. I'm like, okay.
I thought you were going to say chins for days, which I mean they do, but like...
They're all chin now.
It's just a talking chin.
Yeah, but I like that. I think they did a good job, though.
That's good.
I think this is more of I was going to say a traditional RPG, but it's not. So Oblivion is an RPG, and it's a fantasy RPG, because...
It has dragons.
There are actually no dragons in this one.
Oh my god.
Oh, scratch that. There's one dragon, kind of.
Are they wyverns?
I think it's a wyvern, technically.
Oh my god.
I'd have to look at the model.
Okay, but it's fantasy because of the fact that there's magical creatures.
There's magic, it's bows and swords.
Okay.
That's pretty much what I consider fantasy. Is there bows and swords and not guns?
Oh my gosh, that's so weird. Like, you define fantasy based off of the weapon type?
Setting.
What?
Based off of its setting.
But what do you mean?
If there's certain weapons in my setting, then I don't know what I'm saying.
You're literally just trying to make it so that I'm wrong.
No.
Yes. You're like, and don't you start this with me right now. You being like, I'm saying like, oh, so based on the types of weapons is what's going to determine like whether it's fantasy or like modern or whatever kind of. So are you confusing fantasy with medieval?
No.
Okay, I'm tired of this conversation.
It's medieval fantasy. That killed me.
Oh my god.
Can't even laugh normally about that one.
You know what? I'm not even gonna let you finish because how dare you? How dare you do that to me? I'm gonna say let's jump right into the book.
No, I want to describe the setting.
Oh my god! Please don't talk for 12 hours.
Well, this one I know better, so it's easier for me to explain. So, Oblivion is an Elder Scrolls game, and it starts like most Elder Scrolls games as the main character, you, being a prisoner in some fashion. This one, it starts with you literally in a jail cell, and you kind of wake up and the cellie across the hallway is making fun of you, saying, haha, you're never going to get out of here, you idiot.
Well, neither is he.
Exactly. But then, lo and behold, here comes a couple people down the steps. Who is it? It's just the Emperor and his bodyguards.
Nice.
Turns out the escape route for the Emperor is through your cell, and he looks at you, Emperor Uriel Septim. And he goes, oh my gosh, I've seen your face in my dreams.
Ew, creep.
And so you kind of follow along with him on the escape route, and the assassins eventually catch up with him, and he hands you an amulet. The Amulet of Kings. And he goes, bring this to someone and find my last remaining son.
He trusts you, a convicted something or other.
Oh, he's magic. His blood is magic, and he has visions.
I still don't see how that allows him to trust you, a convicted something or other.
Well, he has been dreaming about me his whole life because he knows today's the day he's going to die.
I still don't see why he trusts you.
Because he does. And he hands you the amulet and goes, bring this to someone and find my last living bloodline. And so you go and do that. He goes, you must do this, for the jaws of oblivion must be snapped shut. Meru's Dagon is coming to invade our plane.
I'm sorry. I got a little bit caught back up on like, okay, he hands this to you and is like, go find my last living son or whatever. And I'm like, what? You don't know where your child is? You're a terrible parent.
He checks in on him every once in a while.
Well, in the way that Mufasa checks in on Simba?
In the way where a king or emperor checks in on their bastard son.
Oh, it's a bastard son. Okay. You just said living son. I was thinking he was like living in the palace, and I'm like, what? You don't even know where your kid's bedroom is or some shit?
Yeah, the rest of them are dead.
The ones that were like legitimate.
Mm-hmm.
Why are they dead?
Assassins. The mythic dawn has come to kill them all.
All at the same time?
It seems that way.
That's upsetting.
So you go and do those things. You find the son. His son is a priest.
Nice.
And he goes, oh, that's who I am? Okay. And then you come up with a big grand plan to stop Oblivion from invading, a.k.a. Meru's Dagon, from invading your plane. And then a big plan happens, and you go and close all these Oblivion gates. And then the last living bloodline of the Uriel Septim bloodline sacrifices himself to kill Meru's Dagon, or at least push him out of the mortal plane.
Did you say that the last living bloodline of the whatever bloodline?
Yes, I did. I doubled up on bloodline.
I don't like that.
To let you know is super important. I'm AI generating this as I'm speaking.
I mean, I guess your intelligence could be described as artificial.
That's right. That's right. So that's like the whole game. That's the main story from start to end.
Fun.
I skipped a lot in the middle.
Yeah, thank you for doing that. I appreciate it. Because otherwise, I don't know if we would ever leave.
Yeah. But what I've actually been doing is getting myself ready to the point where I can make my own spells. And I'm like, I'm
what are you getting yourself ready for?
To be able to make my own spells.
I thought that was what you're doing to get ready. Like you're like working towards being able to make your own spells, but like you want to be able to make your own spells to get ready for something.
I don't care about anything else. I just wanted to make my own spells.
Why?
Because it's fun.
Why is it fun?
Because I like it.
Can you tell me what you like? Why is it different than like not making your own spells?
Otherwise, you have to purchase all the spells, and they can only do exactly what they're sold as. And if I can make my own spells, I can make it like heal me and make me able to carry more. Like you can put multiple effects on the same spell, or you can modify how long it takes. So it's a pretty in-depth spell creator.
Can I get into the book?
I suppose. I think I'm kind of making myself to be a lot like Gavrax.
In Oblivion, I hope, and not in real life?
In Oblivion, yeah.
Are you making him or yourself, your character, to be like the Dreadlord Gavrax or the new Gav?
The Dreadlord.
Oh, no.
Specializing on summoning.
I really, really hope that you reassess that by the end of this.
I'm just conjuring demons from the demiplane.
Okay, so a quick recap. I'm just going to ignore you. Quick recap. We are approaching the halfway point of Dreadful by Caitlin Rozakis. The story follows Gav, a dark wizard who had committed some atrocious, criminal, and downright evil acts in his lifetime. At one point, he joined another dark wizard, Zarconar, on some sort of evil plot. Somewhere along the lines of that plot, Gav had fallen into one of Zarconar's traps and contacted Zarconar's pet demon, trying to gain more knowledge that Zarconar wasn't sharing. And instead, Gav lost his memories. This whole time, he's been trying to piece together who he is and what this plan is all about. He suspects there's some sort of demon summoning ritual happening, given that he has a virgin princess and another dark sorceress who's part of this plot was tasked with collecting demon seed, but he doesn't know what the purpose is. Now, Gav is not only dealing with his lost memories, but he's wondering if he even wants to be like his former self, if he wants to be evil or good or something in between. He's truly started to care for the princess since he started magic lessons with her, and all the while, King Barabino has put a bounty on Gav's head, and there are heroes that are flocking to his dark castle to collect the prize. Oh, and how could I forget? In the midst of all of this, his village is throwing a garlic festival in order to make it through the next winter.
You can't forget the garlic festival.
I am so excited about this garlic festival, not gonna lie. So after Gav's meeting with Zarconar, where he discovered that Zarconar is in possession of his memories, Gav really throws himself into teaching Eliasha magic. At first, it seems like he had actually wanted to set her free after learning this whole situation with Zarconar, but he couldn't figure out how to get that thrice damn collar off her neck. He tried, but apparently in one of his attempts to get that collar off of her neck so that she could actually leave the castle walls, he had burned her a little bit, and he was like, okay, we're done with that. I'm not dealing with that. And she was mad about it. She's like, why can't we go back to trying to get this thing off? And he's like, I'm so sorry. I just don't want to hurt you. So instead of getting the collar off of her neck and maybe potentially setting her free, that was a little unclear. I'm not totally sure if that was what his original intention of getting the collar off was. But he did consider, or after trying that, he did what he considered to be the next best thing, and he decided to teach her some more magic. And he doesn't start with anything cutesy. He's starting with real hardcore magic. He's teaching her how to craft fireballs. And it's not going well because Gav doesn't trust taking her outside because he doesn't want anyone to see her, even in her glamourless state. Yeah. But using fireballs inside is, well, not ideal. Eliasha continues to be confused and untrusting of Gav, and I don't know if she doesn't trust him because she doesn't believe that he lost his memories, or if she thinks that he's not trustworthy because he lost his memories, but she's somewhat resistant to being his student. She keeps asking why he would teach her how to throw fireballs. Isn't he worried that she's going to launch one at him? And he said, I am worried that you're going to do that, but I'm hoping you don't. He also feels like he doesn't have a better option. And then he opens up to her, saying that he wants to be someone that she would have liked if they had met under literally any other circumstances.
Okay. Little cutesy. Okay.
No, not the... Wait! Ah! Gav ducked. The tiny fireball whizzed over his head and slammed into the wall. Fortunately, the wall had seen worse. He rubbed his eyes. "Let's take a little break." Alyosha slumped to the ground. "I'm sorry." No, it is to be expected. I probably should have had a start outside." But he didn't want them outside, where people could see. Ideally, he really would have wanted to be doing this far away, preferably in a quarry or something equally non-flammable. But with Alyosha still trapped in the castle, they hadn't had much choice. He considered his apprentice, who had closed her eyes and leaned her head back against the perch. Sweat plastered the fine wisps of hair against her forehead. Without the glamour on, her hair was much less tidy. Less distracting, though. Less intimidating. He kept finding himself wanting to trust her. He wasn't sure it was safe. She certainly didn't trust him, but maybe, if he could convince her that he was worthy of a little trust, just a tiny bit, it would prove something, that he wasn't completely unredeemable. "Dreadlord Gavrax?" Alyosha asked without actually opening her eyes. "Gav, please," he corrected once again. "Why are you teaching me fireballs?" "Because they're the simplest defensive spell I can think of," he said. She opened her eyes. "All right, but why are you teaching me offensive spells at all? Not to be suspicious, but..." "But it's suspicious," he filled in with a resigned smile. "Well, yes," she said. "What keeps me from lobbing one at you as soon as your back is turned? What's the catch? Why are you doing this?" "Because Gavrax wouldn't," he said. "I don't understand." He blew out a breath and leaned against the wall, trying to gather the thoughts that only half made sense to even him. "I don't want to be here. I don't want to be him. Gavrax would have let Grrrbeetle die. He wouldn't have cared about the villagers. You never..." An uncomfortable pause. "I never what?" He flushed. "You never would have liked Gavrax. You wouldn't have trusted him, and you would have been right. I just want..." He flinched, every instinct expecting her to laugh, to jeer, to recoil somehow. But she sat quietly, head cocked, listening. When he couldn't finish the sentence, she filled it in for him. "You want me to like you." It held a little cynicism, a little bitterness, but that was all right. It was all he deserved, really. It wasn't ridicule. "No," he said quickly. "Well, yes, but that's probably not really an option at this point. I know that. He took a deep breath. "I guess I want to be the kind of person you would have liked if you'd met me some other way." Huh. She still didn't laugh, which was better than he deserved. "So you're teaching me how to potentially kill you?" "You already know how to kill me," he said. She was smarter and more dangerous than he was. If he couldn't outplay Zarconar, maybe she could. It was an insane risk to take, but casting his lot in with Alyosha seemed like it might have a slightly greater chance of success than sticking with Zarconar. "Besides," whispered a dark part of him that he tried not to pay too much attention to, "if she created enough havoc, it might be enough to give him an opening to escape, even if she didn't make it herself." No, that was Gavrax's patterns. Thinking about Zarconar made him scared and ashamed, and the emotions always tried to spill into the old grooves. He was trying to make different choices. "You came close to killing me that first night. I'm teaching you another way to defend yourself. One no one will expect. It's not very much. There's not enough time for very much, but maybe that little thing will be enough to tip the balance." "And if tipping the balance means Zarconar kills you instead?" "I'm really hoping that doesn't happen," he said ruefully. "We're going to keep researching and find some way to get you out of that collar. We'll keep looking for more information on him. We'll figure something out." "And if we don't? If it comes down to you or me, and you have to choose?" I don't know," he confessed.
Yes. I do like that. I did like the word choice there. We could feel it coming, but yeah.
What do you mean?
We could feel it like he was going to be saying that he wasn't sure of what he was going to do. Because he doesn't.
"I don't know," he confessed. "I need to go check on the village before everyone shows up tomorrow. I moved the guard. You can see yourself back to your room." He fled, fully aware of his cowardice. It was one thing to give her a means of self-defense, but if he were a really good person, he would be willing to sacrifice his life to save her. It was his fault, after all, that she was here. He wasn't that good. His thoughts flashed to that urn of gray powder. He wasn't a complete fool. He knew that there was no way Zarconar would ever give him his memories back, no matter how much he played along.
Mm-hmm.
They were nothing now but a way to taunt him. Understanding himself was a luxury he could regretfully give up, but there were some facts that would be very useful to be able to access. Facts like how to undo that collar, or what exactly the ritual would consist of. He wondered if he'd actually figured out something Zarconar had not wanted him to know. If so, he clearly hadn't shared it with the other two wizards. Gavrax wasn't the kind of person to share or to collaborate. No, he'd gone for the answer that let him keep everything to himself, let him feel clever. Idiot. He was running out of time, he knew. So I thought that this passage was really interesting because, again, I do love that like impossible choice trope of like, would you choose to save yourself or a total stranger or somebody you care about or, you know, like depending on what it is. But I do like how honest Gav is about it in that he's like, yeah, no, I actually really wouldn't save her. I don't think I would. I think I would. I mean, maybe, but probably not. I would probably try to run away and escape. Damn her.
Yeah, because he's wrestling with like, I would like to think I would try to save her, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, he's like, I don't think I actually would. Because I don't think he would save her if it meant sacrificing himself.
Like, he'll save her if he can save himself as well.
But even if he could save himself, I don't know if he would go out of his way to save her. Like, I think if she was there and she saw that he was escaping and she ran along, he wouldn't necessarily stop her. But I don't think that if he found a way to get out of this, that he would necessarily, like, go and tell her first. Like, hey, here's our new plan or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, I think
I think he will. I think he's going to, just based off of how he saved Grabeetle.
I don't know. Because, like, he's been talking in the last 3 chapters about how he is very selfish and he's a coward. And he doesn't like that about himself, but I don't think he necessarily knows how to change that about himself either. And I don't necessarily condone the level of selfishness that he has. I at least appreciate and respect that he's not lying and saying like, oh, I would totally save you. You know, he's like, I don't know. And I'm not gonna tell you something that's false. And I do like that he is struggling with how selfish he is. So maybe he'll have a change of heart at some point. But I think we might go and see one of those scenes where like he does have an opportunity to escape and has an opportunity to like bring her with him, but he doesn't, and then like maybe he goes back for her kind of thing. Like he like changes his mind. But I think where he is right now, I think he is struggling with the idea that he's not a good person and that he's selfish, but that he's like, I don't necessarily want to change, or I don't know if I can change that. It's not necessarily that he doesn't want to. I think he just doesn't think that he can.
Yeah.
And the reason that I think that is because right now he's not gloating about how he used to be worse, but he is always, at least to the narrator, pointing out that he used to be worse. Or not to the narrator, to the reader, I mean. So he's pointing out to the reader that he used to be worse, but not necessarily saying that to Eliasha or any of the other characters. He's like, oh my God, I did some horrible shit. And, you know, I'm better now, but he's not necessarily like gloating about it. In fact, it's just making him more frustrated. He's like, why can't I just be evil? Like, or why can't I just be good? It's, you know, he's like, I'm trying to be better, but I don't know how far that can go. And he knows that the change that has happened in him is so far pretty minimal and not really anything worth celebrating. It's like the bare minimum of being at least a neutral human being, if not good or evil. I do want to point out, though, in one of the earlier episodes, you had predicted how this story would explore evilness stemming from cowardice. And obviously you're proven to be right because he's already called himself a coward. And so far, a lot of the other evil characters in here also seem to be not necessarily cowards, but like afraid of something. I do wonder how much of the story is going to be about how cowardice can present itself in different ways and how some evils or selfishness or cowardice are somehow more acceptable than others just because like he seems ridiculous. And like in the next couple of scenes, there's some stuff where I'm like, that is like just pure childish cowardice kind of stuff. I think that the other characters are kind of afraid of things, but the way that they show their cowardice or show their fear or show, I guess, weakness is for like Eliasha being like this kind of stuck up bitch and being kind of like holier than thou and all that kind of shit, I feel like is also still a little bit of a front because she, you know, but like that's more acceptable and it's morally, you know, just and things like that. But I'm like, I don't know. I still think it's coming out of the same place. They are both acting on trying to like protect themselves.
Yeah, I have a feeling they're going to explore the good guys as being self-righteous arrogance. We've already seen that a little bit with how they just disregard the goblins as like not even worthy of thought. Feel like we're going to get a little bit of that since we're going to have both the bad guys and the good guys. And this one seems to be like measuring the middle ground pretty well.
Yeah. Anyway, so he makes his way to the village. And I'm not trying to dismiss what you're saying. I do agree. I don't have anything to add. So he does make his way to the village to check on the preparations for the Garlic Festival that is officially meant to kick off tomorrow. Along the way, he bumps into Sirocco, who had just come from being fitted for the giant garlic outfit. And he's pretty miserable. And I just have to share the scene because it's so funny.
Good.
He met Sirocco just outside of the castle gate. His hangdog expression did wonders to make Gav feel better. "How are the fittings going?" Gav asked almost cheerfully. The steward visibly tried not to sulk. He failed. "My lord," he said, "surely there is another way I can contribute to this endeavor." Gav did a better job of hiding his smirk. "Well, I'm pretty sure no one will sign up for a torture booth. But if you have other suggestions..." Sirocco looked surprised to have been asked. Apparently, he'd intended the objection to merely salvage his dignity rather than actually have an effect. His gaze slid sideways, and he actually looked, was that bashful? Well, my lord, I can sing."
Ooh, we're learning new things.
Gav blinked. "Really?" Sirocco puffed up his chest defensively. "Yes, really. As a matter of fact, when I was younger, I was the star pupil at the Great Bardic College in Whistlehaven."
Of course, it's called Whistlehaven.
Gav had no idea what that was, but he got the impression that he should be very impressed. Hidden depths indeed. "I never would have guessed. How the devil did you end up here?" His eyes slid sideways again. "Accused of poisoning a fellow student for a better solo. They expelled me." There was the Sirocco he'd come to know and not really love. Oh, I love it. "We don't have anyone to accompany you." "Oh, I play the lute," Sirocco said, waving a hand. "And a few other instruments, but never as well." "Fascinating," Gav said, somewhat at a loss. He gave up. Terwin would just have to deal with goblin garlic. "Well, I suppose you can see if Throck will fit in the costume instead. If we pack enough cloves of garlic in there with him, it might even cover the smell of his breath." Sirocco looked almost, sunny, as if Gav had promised him a prisoner to torture. He continued on towards the castle, a bounce in his step. Again, I thought this scene was really cute and funny. It was very quick. I mean, that was all the scene. And so I almost didn't include it, but I just thought it was so funny. Because one, having Sirocco, envisioning him in the garlic suit was already, doing wonders for me. I thought it was hilarious. And, Gav picking on him, and he's always been picking on the steward and being you're, whatever. But then, for Gav to have that kind of change of heart, too, as far as he likes to pick on Sirocco. Sirocco's an easy person to pick on. Mm-hmm. But even so, he's do you have any other talents or something you can do that's not a torture booth? And then Sirocco's I can sing. I think that, and it's possible too that Gav is still allowing him to do this because he still thinks it'll make a fool out of Sirocco. But at the same time, I'm you're still giving Sirocco what he wants and actually letting him have a choice in what's going on with this. So I'm I don't know, he's already showing that he's clearly not as evil as Gavrax was, but also just, I wonder too how much is him being very hard on himself because what he thinks a good person is and what actually makes a good person good are not necessarily lining up.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I like that observation. Yeah. Yeah, I feel like they're showing that in a couple ways.
Well, because the other way would be, you already mentioned too, as far as how Eliasha is supposed to be this pure virgin princess who's, very sweet. And she does the stuff of not wanting Gav to kill Fiari, even though she doesn't like him, not wanting him to kill the young wizard that had come in to, and had injured Gura Beetle. But then at the same time, had to be told that the goblins are worth caring about,
Mm-hmm.
So showing that she is supposed to be this kind of epitome of good, but then she's not all that good because she's got some flaws, and it's not just that she's ugly or plain. It's that she, in the way that she isn't all good. The way that she thinks and the way that
mm-hmm.
she looks at stuff isn't always like being a good person. I also thought that this scene was a little bit necessary because so far this book has been very light and fluffy, which has been great. I've been enjoying it. But obviously you can't really have a plot without some kind of a problem. Otherwise, then what's the point of the book, you know? And problems tend to not be the lightest and fluffiest of things. And so I knew that this story wasn't going to be all eyebrows and not so subtle jabs at the princess's plainness, but the vibe felt like it shifted pretty uncomfortably for me during that scene with Zarconar and him revealing that he has Gav's memories. And I was like, I don't want it to be this weird, uncomfortable like vibe or mood anymore. And so this scene really got it back into the light and fluffies, which I was happy about.
Yeah, I do like that he reflected on his memories. He's essentially saying, I'm not going to get those back, but I felt like there's an undertone of, and I don't want them back.
I think there is that undertone where he really doesn't want them back. I mean, he wants some of them back because he's like, it would be useful to have this information back, but I don't think he could handle knowing all the details of his former self. And I do wonder if he did end up getting his memories back, what kind of
change would have happened within him.
Well, and just how he would like feel about it necessarily. Like how much of his evilness was just that he knew about the stuff that he did before, if that makes sense. Like, would he go back to wanting to be evil and feeling those things, or would he maintain this kind of conscious streak that he has of like, why was I ever like this? Like, he recognizes the shame and like the emotions behind certain things, and he knows that he doesn't want to feel some of those emotions ever again. But at the same time, it's like, one, that's life, get over it, grow up. But he's also starting to realize he's like, that is just an immature way to respond to just normal life situations and stuff like that. And so it's like, I think he really does want to be a better person, but I don't know if he wants to be seen as being a good person either. I don't know. So anyways, Gav goes to the village after his little run-in with Sirocco, and there's tourists that are already like filling up the houses and the inns and stuff like that. They've been coming from far and wide. Terwin's network of minstrels and whatever are doing their job. They're getting people to come in. And Gav has to kind of pretend and to be like this...
Play up the dreadlordness.
Yes, because as we found out last time when he was talking to Terwin, she was like, oh my God, we could invite people from this neighboring kingdom who really want to see the dark wizards and stuff like that, because like they're always jealous of us having, you as our dark wizard, but like, what if we have 4? That would be crazy and stuff like that. So like there's people that are there for the spectacle of it, the danger, the just like, oh, here's the Dreadlord Gavrax kind of thing. So he's trying to be what they are expecting to see. And apparently he and Terwin had made this hilarious plan for him to come in and like be super condescending and say, are you expecting company, Terwin? And her to be like, oh, Dreadlord Gavrax, oh no. And then he like takes a bite of a garlic bulb or something like that and goes, delicious. I guess I can spare you. And then like walks away kind of thing. Like that was their plan. And he goes up to her and he like starts initiating, and he like, as he's walking through the town, he sees the tourists and also the native villagers there who are like all like, oh my God, what is he gonna do? What's going on and stuff. And like, so he sees them gawking but also hiding, and he's like, you guys are so stupid, but okay, whatever. And he goes up to Terwin and he's like, oh my God, Terwin is a horrible actress, because he goes up and he's like, are you expecting company? And she turns around, her eyes are wide, and he's like, I've never seen her eyes so wide. And she's like, oh no, and stuff. And he's like, oh my God, could you like put some feeling into it, Terwin? But she's so stoic that she doesn't know how to mimic these emotions. It's so great. And so, yeah, so he's like going through with his don't fuck with me face on, and he basically ends up eating like a whole clove of garlic just in one bite.
Just a clove or a bulb?
Maybe even a bulb. I don't know.
Hilarious. Just the papery.
That would be even funnier. It was actually like something that was made into something else, but
okay.
But the garlic was strong, and he is
Tear
like
running down his cheek.
Yeah, he's like crying and like in visible pain, and he was like, it didn't even taste good. Like it didn't, like, you know how like I love garlic. So it's like, it would take a lot of garlic for me to like actually think that it tastes gross. He was like, oh my God. And he's like, I better get out of here before I find garlic cookies or some shit like that. That sounds disgusting. Or garlic beer. What the fuck? And he says, in the best way that he can, like, because he was supposed to be like, that'll do. But like, it was supposed to like entice the people that are watching to be like, oh my God, he didn't kill her because that garlic was so good. I gotta get me some of that kind of thing.
I gotta buy.
I gotta buy. But he's like in physical pain because of this disgusting garlic creation that he's put in his mouth. And so he's like, that'll do. And he's like, I'm not gonna kill you today. And then he like walks away. And so then as he's turning to leave, feeling as if he's done his part to raise interest in the garlic products, he sees a teenage boy who appears to be cosplaying as the Dreadlord Gavrax.
Uh-oh.
So this kid has a long dark robe and basically like the teenage peach fuzz equivalent of a goatee. Mm-hmm. And clearly this kid is a fan, but Gav isn't sure if that's a compliment or not because he's like, you look up to Dreadlord Gavrax? Are you shitting me right now?
He's a powerful lord.
And he's like, I mean, I feel like Gavrax would have been flattered, but for the new Gav that I'm trying to be, I don't know if I like this. He turned and came face to face with himself. A younger, pimply version, at least. The teenager wore robes that could only have been inspired by a not particularly accurate version of his Flames robes, and several carefully tended hairs around his mouth that Gav realized with shock were supposed to be a goatee. The boy's hair had not seen the benefit of soap for long enough that a piece of paper rubbed on his head would have come away translucent. That is so gross. He's a greasy boy.
Dreadlord Gavrax,
the boy said, eyes shining.
I just wanted to tell you how much I respect your work.
I see, Gav said. And just which work inspired you the most?
Probably the time you barbecued that stuck-up bitch who turned down your marriage proposal,
the kid said matter-of-factly. Gav needed a spell to allow him to breathe even when his lungs seized up. He had done what? Murdered someone for rejecting him? There had to have been more to it than that. Some extenuating or at least mitigating circumstances that were buried in that thrice-damned jar on Zarconar's end table. What if there wasn't? I have cause to regret that action as hasty, he said carefully.
No, it was amazing,
gushed the kid.
She got what was coming to her.
As do we all, I'm afraid, he said, edging around his worshipper. The kid seemed oblivious to the potential layers of meaning there.
How did you get where you are today?
The kid begged. How indeed? You don't want to be like me.
Of course I do,
he insisted as a nervous hand ran through his greasy hair.
They all do. I'm just the only one with the balls to say it.
He should discourage him. For a moment, Gav envisioned saying the one devastatingly insightful comment that would cause this overgrown child to grow up, learn compassion, and rethink all of his life choices. The only problem was he had no idea what that comment might be. Could he have been dissuaded? He could only guess, but he had the sinking feeling that by this stage, the answer was no. All he really wanted to do was flee. Instead, he beckoned. The kid took a nervous step forward, and Gav leaned in. In a whisper pitched to carry across the square, he gave the kid the only advice that he could think of in the heat of the moment. Garlic.
Garlic?
The kid stared in confusion. Gav nodded sagely. Garlic. The amount of magical power concentrated in garlic is unfathomable. Why do you think I command them to grow so much of it?
He's being a genius right now.
Garlic?
The kid stepped back, eyes wide, drinking in the square and its profusion of garlic-related amenities in a new light. Conveniently, this took him out of Gav's path. Gav wasn't going to waste the opportunity. He swept past him and back toward the castle.
He's a genius.
He's so genius. Because, like, and it said, too, that he said in a voice or, like, in a whisper that was pitched enough that, like, the rest of the square could also hear him. So, like, this kid is saying, like,
what's your secret to power?
And Gav is like, garlic. Like, you want to know a secret? It's garlic. And so then everyone's like, oh, my God, we're going to become all-powerful beings if we get all of this garlic shit. Oh, I love it.
It's like asking those 90-year-olds, what's the secret to a long life? And they go, cigarettes and coffee.
Yeah. Oh, my God. It's so funny. I know that somehow this garlic festival is going to ruin Zarconar's plan. I just know it. It's going to be the answer to everything in this book, and I'm here for it. And honestly, I want garlic to be the answer to all of my life problems. If your dinner is in poor shape, add some garlic. It'll help. Your friends don't like you? Garlic can fix that. Your house burned down and your spouse left you? You know who would never betray you like that? Garlic.
Garlic, that's right.
But I also did like the not so subtle hint at like, oh, I don't know what to call it, incel behavior or whatever, as far as like, I don't know how to say this delicately without being offensive to probably like some group of people, but like the amount of greasy teenage boys who grow up to be entitled man babies is just astounding and insufferable. And okay, I get that a lot of teenagers are greasy because hygiene is a learning curve for a lot of teenagers, but there's something about like those like very awkward greasy boys who feel like they're misunderstood or whatever that sometimes turns them into misogynistic pricks. And it's just like, it's such a disappointing pattern to see. And so I really like that this book is not very subtly tackling that, as far as like, this kid is really greasy and he's, you know, worshiping people with questionable morals or like no morals, and is like really feeling entitled and like, I don't know. But I do think about going back to kind of like a bigger picture here of when I think about men and boys, especially, although like several girls, women, and non-binary people also are like this at times, especially because like this kid was like, I really respect that when this person rejected you, you called her a stuck-up bitch and you barbecued her.
Killed them. Yeah,
like,
he was like, what?
And that's like serial killer behavior right there. Like that is... like that happens in a lot of stories about serial killers. So I'm like, you shouldn't be idolizing this guy at all. Like that is so horrible. And I think that there's a lot of people who get into their heads a little bit about how important their feelings are, as far as in a romantic situation. Let's say they'll say, I really like this person and I want to be with them, and then that person for whatever reason rejects them, or at least doesn't feel the same way, doesn't want to be with them in a romantic way, or, you know, it's like with the whole like friend zone debacle that comes up with it. And then that person who initially was like, I like this person, instead of being okay with being like sad or rejected or even embarrassed, like instead of like working through those emotions in a healthy way, they start to get irrationally angry and they will hate an entire group of people because they are being selfish. They're like, I want this. You're not letting me have it. How dare you? And they're only thinking about what they want, not about what's good for the other person. Like, it just gets into this, like, I think if we go back to the conversation about what is a good person actually, you know, willing to do, I don't think that they necessarily need to sacrifice themselves or their happiness for another person to be considered a good person. But, like, to consider another person's perspective, to have empathy, which Gav has now that he doesn't have all of his memories of all the horrible things that he did. I think this scene is really showing that Gav isn't as selfish as he maybe believes, and that the slimy behavior that this kid is showing and that Gav apparently used to show is a learned behavior through forced emotional suppression and a lack of empathy.
Yeah, but let's take a moment here and realize what Gav has done. He has taken a greasy, stinky kid, and now he's making him eat a bunch of garlic. So now he's even stinkier.
I know. I was like, oh my gosh, this kid is going to go through the same kinds of rejections and things like that Gav probably went through in his life. And like, I don't know. I'm just like, man, yeah, garlic is...
gonna exude garlic. He's already halfway there.
Yeah, it's what about that is, I don't know if that's necessarily going to like help the situation or make it worse. Anyway, moving on. So Gav goes into the castle gardens because this meeting with the teenager actually really rattled him, and he was like, I just want to be left alone. He finds in the gardens there's some poisonous plants alongside some harmless herbs, and I think that's a very striking metaphor, first of all, to have like these deadly things right next to like completely harmless or even healing plants. And he just hopes while he's in here and he's like seeing all of like these poisons and stuff mixed in with some seasonings and things like rosemary and thyme. He's like,
thyme, and poison.
Hemlock? What the fuck? Nightshade? No, he just hopes that Orla knows what she's doing because, like, these are the castle gardens that clearly are, like, they're, like, right off of the kitchens and stuff like that. So he's like, oh, no, like, if this is where she's getting her seasonings, like, I hope she knows what she's doing and doesn't accidentally kill someone. And speaking of Orla,
here she comes.
She accidentally stumbles into Gav in the gardens and is like, oh, my God, my bad. I can leave you be. And she tries to scurry away. But then Gav does that thing where, like, when people are, like, brooding about stuff and, like, they'll say something mysterious, but then be like, I don't want to talk about it. And then Orla was like, okay, you don't want to talk about it? Bye. And then he was like, actually,
come back. Come back. I'm going to talk about it.
I'm going to talk about it anyways. I do want to talk about it. So she sits down and listens to his woes. Do you think there's a point where someone is just irredeemably evil? He started.
Master is very evil,
she assured him.
Masterfully evil.
That's... He rubbed his eyes. That's very kind, Orla, but not really what I was going for. He tried again. There was this boy down in the village.
And Master set him on fire?
She supplied when he paused, looking for words.
He keeps forgetting he can just do that.
No, I didn't do anything to him, other than convince him of the unfathomable power of garlic. Orla looked lost. He couldn't blame her. Look, he reminded me of, well, me. Or I think the me I used to be. All rage and bravado and contempt. Only less patience, I think. Whatever I was like, I must have had some grit or I wouldn't have been able to learn anything at all. This one's not looking to embark on a decades-long study. He's looking for a secret cheat because he thinks he's special and the hard work is beneath him. There's no secret way to instant power, but he'd rather waste his time searching than actually work. Besides, we really need to sell the garlic.
So, set on fire after he buy garlic?
Orla tried to puzzle it out. No, he blew out a breath. He wasn't making any sense. I've done bad things, Orla. Terrible things. Unforgivable things. And I look back and I can't even understand how I could have done something like that. But the worst of it was, he could. He could imagine it. The pain and embarrassment of being rejected and the rage that would follow, the sudden desperate need to make it go away, to show her, to wipe away any trace of condescension off her face, whether it had been there or not, to show everyone the consequences of refusing to give him what he wanted to deserve, but knew in his heart he didn't. He understood it, and he hated himself for understanding. How do there's no way to come back from what I've done in the past. It doesn't really matter who I want to be now, he said out loud, voicing what he'd known for days now. Orla didn't look at him, and he couldn't really blame her for that either. She poked a bit at the plants at her feet, tugging up a weed and tossing it behind her. Finally, she answered,
Matter to who?
To anyone, he said, standing in the middle of his garden of death. Evil isn't math, right? It's not like I can do some magic number of good deeds that will somehow balance out the bad things. I can't unhurt the people I hurt, even if I tried to change the way I act now. Orla kept poking at the weeds, her face opaque. He couldn't tell if she was too cautious to show her feelings, or too simple to follow his argument, or just that he was too bad at reading goblin faces to understand her. If being good now isn't enough to make up for the person I used to be, what point is there? No one will trust me. No one should trust me.
Why it matter?
Have you ever wanted to be someone else? Someone you can't be?
No, goblins don't think like that. He's about to get life lessoned from a goblin. I'm excited.
Orla not want to be not goblin, she said thoughtfully, but goblin not great to be.
His face flushed hot. He'd lectured Eliasha on not considering the goblins to be real people, and here he was, treating Orla like she existed solely to listen to his monologuing. Of course she wanted to be something she couldn't have. No one would ever trust a goblin with that cookbook of hers.
No one cares what do, just what look like,
Orla explained.
Heroes good, because we're white, and people like. Villains bad, because we're black and ugly. Heroes kill goblin children. Everybody cheer. Villains give goblins home. Everybody hiss. Goblins can serve evil master and sometimes safe in castle walls, or can live in stinky swamp and still get killed by baby heroes. So goblins evil?
He swallowed. I don't think goblins evil.
Orla not think goblins evil.
She shrugged.
Some people disagree.
But why even bother trying to be good if people will always think you're bad anyway? What does it matter? You said it yourself. If you're going to be thought of as bad, the ones who everyone decided are heroes are just going to ride right over you anyway. At least if you lean into the evil, you get to have a little power. Orla looked at him directly. He had the sickening feeling that a snaggletooth goblin with a speech impediment was disappointed in him.
Say again. Matter to who? To people? To one person? To you?
To anyone.
Can't please anyone. Will never prove to anyone you not evil. They never forgive. Maybe you not deserve them to forgive. Still want to do evil tomorrow just because they expect. Even if don't want to do evil, they choose. Not you.
He was getting better at reading her facial expressions, he thought, because he thought maybe what he saw there was contempt. The kitchen door opened and Throck peered out.
Guests here.
And just like that, they were out of time. So I've said it once. I'll say it again. Orla is my girl. Mm-hmm. I love Orla. I love that she's basically like, she's always given me like this like extreme mother energy as far as like she wants to cook for people. She wants to take care of them. But she's also this no nonsense like, do what you want, Gav. Nobody gives a shit.
Like, Gav, you haven't figured it out yet? You're in charge.
You're in charge of how you feel and about how you react and what. If you don't like how you're acting, then change it. And if it doesn't become apparent to other people that you're a good person now, then who cares? Why does it matter? Why do other people get to be in charge of you? Basically, as far as like the advice that I always hear about like how to deal with your emotions better as a person and just like have healthier relationships and conversations and being able to like communicate with people is just focus on the things that you can control. And that is what Orla is saying. She's like, bro, be evil if you want to. Lean into it. I don't care because you've been nice enough to give me a home and stuff like that. And that part also just made me really sad because she's like, people kill goblin children and then they cheer. And I'm like, that's really sad.
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, I just love Orla and I appreciate her in the scene a lot. So the reason that Throck came in was he was like, hey, there's people here.
Yes, I'm assuming it's the other dark wizards.
Well, it's a day early because remember this ritual is supposed to happen on the same day as the Garlic Festival. Mm-hmm. And the Garlic Festival is tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
And so Gav is like, of course somebody's showing up early. If anything, it's just inconvenient, like, or inconsiderate of them to do that. So he's irritated, but he goes to see who it is. And it happens to be Valevna who arrives first.
Ooh, he's gonna be all blushing.
Oh, he does more than blush. He
rises to the occasion.
Yes. So he goes to meet her in the, I guess, throne room, whatever. And she comes in, let me just tell you, on a palanquin, like one of those like big things that like men hold and whatever. And it's like a little tent and shit like that because she's dramatic as fuck.
Yeah.
Of course. Yeah. We knew this about her. And like he's looking at her bearers, I don't know, the people that are holding it, and they're like these chiseled, muscly men kind of thing, and they are wearing basically loincloths, like they are showing off, and Gav is like very insecure about how he looks. And then she gets out of it and they start, you know, he starts showing her around the palace and he's like, so how many people do you have staying with you? And she's like, well, Zarconar said your castle's a little bit on the cozy side. And he's like, ouch. Okay. So she's like, I don't have that many people with me and stuff. And so could you like maybe like not put my room right next to Zarconar's though? And Gav's like, I didn't even think about, I mean, I knew I was hosting you guys. I didn't think about the fact that you guys are going to need places to sleep. So we'll find something. I'll make sure that it doesn't, you know. She is very charming. She is very like seductive. Gav gets a boner and he's like, I'm so glad I'm wearing trousers under this robe to like cover it.
I was gonna say robe. A robe doesn't gonna. I'm stuttering myself. A robe's not gonna cover very much.
No. So he's like, yeah, everything's covered. And then he's like, and even just like her smell is amazing and whatever. And she's like batting her eyelashes at him. And then he realizes that at least some of this, I mean, he's like, yes, she's very attractive, but some of my buffoonery and shit like that, and some of my like inability to think around her and just being so unreasonably attracted to her is because she's casting some kind of spell.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, stop that. And she's like, what do you mean? And he's like, seriously, Volevna, cut it out. And then she's like, all right. And she does. And he's like, oh my God, I can breathe. Thank God. And like stuff like that. But she's a little bit taken aback by that because she's like, usually if people figure it out, they don't mind it that like if she's doing this. But she also does that as like some self-preservation kind of stuff. And she talks to him about that later. So the two of them go up to the battlements and they start having a conversation about like the ritual that's coming and people that are coming and all of this kind of stuff. And of course, the conversation leads back to people are going to expect something out of you based on your appearance. But sometimes it's not even based out of your appearance, but you can fit your appearance to meet people's expectations kind of thing. This is one thing that I don't necessarily like about this book, but the conversations seem kind of circular and very repetitive as far as like, hasn't he had this conversation with somebody before? Was it the same person he's had the same conversation with before? I'm not really sure. But so it goes a lot into the like who becomes a credible source of information about certain things and all that kind of stuff. So it's stuff that we've definitely talked about before. So that is my one pet peeve is that it is very heavy-handed. It is not, it's like it's being spoon-fed to me a little bit at times. And I'm like, I can figure this out. And I like this conversation that's being had, but I'm like, can we get to like the interesting, I want to get to the ritual for like, can we get there?
Nah.
So during this conversation about images, appearances, like meeting people's expectations, Gav asks Volevna why she's so sultry and like sexy all the time and like why put on that kind of an appearance. And she says that she and many women are labeled as a whore before they even like can even say anything kind of thing. And she said that she specifically was labeled as a whore before she started dressing very seductively. And so she's like, why not let people think it? If they're going to think it anyways, might as well lean into it because it's a lot more fun this way when people think that you're sleeping your way to the top. And it's, you know, if you're good at it, you don't really actually have to do anything you don't want to do. And people can just believe what they want. And who cares what they believe, right? Kind of like what Orla was just saying, like, who cares what other people think? And then at one point, she does clarify though. She's like, well, just because I don't have to be a whore to get this effect doesn't mean I'm not a whore.
Just because I don't have to doesn't mean I don't love it.
She's like, sex is super fun. You should try it sometime.
She's like, have you seen me?
I am hot shit. All right. And she then opens up to Gav about like, not only about like her being the way that she is, but she tells him the reason that she came out here early was because she noticed that there was something off with Gav and she couldn't stop thinking about the conversation that they had had a few days ago. And she wants to know kind of where he's at and she wants to know whose side she's going to take in the event that there's conflict. She doesn't trust Zarconar. That much we knew. But at the same time, she's like, I don't know if I can trust Gav because like we're dark wizards. Why would we trust each other? And then she also kind of says, not quite in these terms, but she's basically saying, worst case scenario, I'm getting all the hot gossip, all the tea, and I'll make popcorn for when all this drama goes down. Like that's basic. She's like, I don't know if I can trust you. I don't know what's going on. I don't know where that puts me. But if I'm not in the middle of the drama, I'm here to watch. I am excited.
Shit's gonna go down. I know it.
So here's that conversation. So again, they're up on the battlements, just in case you're like, where did this gargoyle come from that I'm about to mention? Gav leaned against a gargoyle that peered over the parapet. Maybe if I'm lucky, we'll get some fog by the time the ritual rolls around, so we can have the appropriate atmosphere. She perched on the edge of the wall, undaunted by the height. But then, someone who traveled by magic carpet must either have no fear of heights or an anti-falling charm easily available. I suppose you could magic something up. Never been that strong at weatherworking, he admitted. And I'm not risking anything uncertain when Zarconar's around, she finished for him. I suppose you keep your little dumb act up around him? I wish, he said bitterly. Her eyebrows went up. In for a copper. No, I really am that dumb around him, he clarified. It's not an act. Her eyes widened. He's got something on you. He nodded, not interested in telling her more. I'd wondered why you were willing to let him onto your home turf, she said, half to herself. So why drop the act with me? What could he say? Had Gavrax really kept up an act with her? Or had he just underestimated her enough to let her turn his brain to goo? Given the hints he'd gotten, he rather suspected the latter. Gavrax did not seem like the type to credit women with anything more than cunning. He certainly wasn't going to tell her the truth, but maybe he could tell her a version of the truth. I need an ally. I'm in too deep, but I think we all are. Zaxxus lives in his own little world. I don't know what he's trying to do. But you're worried too, and you're smarter than I am. She'd been toying with a lock of her hair, but at that, the hair dropped from her limp fingers. She stared at him. I have literally never heard a man make that statement before in my life. He shrugged, uncomfortable. We both know it's true. Obviously it's true, but it's...
She's like, well, duh.
Duh. I'm not the one who lost my memories. She doesn't know that he lost his memories, but like...
He's playing it close-ish to the chest.
Yeah. Obviously it's true, but it's not the kind of thing that men notice. And if they do notice, they'd rather one of us die than admit it. Preferably me. He hadn't given much thought to what it might be like to be a female wizard. Now that he did think about it, it didn't seem particularly appealing. Is that why you... He trailed off, unsure how to finish that phrase. Have to cast warming spells to keep from getting frostbite on my sternum? Wear my hair long enough to worry about burning it off every other day? Her unnaturally colored and well-defined lips quirked. People are easier to control when they see what they expect to see. Gav finished ruefully. Hence the gargoyles and the robes and the stupid torches. I really regret the torches. She laughed. I'm an amateur compared to you, though, he said, letting his admiration show. Why not? He doubted she got much chance to preen, not in front of an audience who knew what she was doing. You're flattering me, she said. It was mostly the self-deprecation of a practiced flirt, but there was a hint of a warning there, too. Well, yes, you appreciate it, he pointed out. But it's nice to get the appreciation. One professional to another, isn't it? I know what you're doing and you know what I'm doing. Is that it? She said, amused. Doesn't mean it's not true, he pointed out. He did admire her, though. Not that a single thing she did could ever be called subtle, but she'd managed to hide in plain sight much more effectively than he ever could. She snorted. You need to understand. If a woman gets even a hint of power, the first thing everyone assumes is that she slept her way to it. So you've turned that into a weapon, he said. Women don't have to do anything to be branded a whore in the first place, she said flatly. All you have to do is displease someone. So I might as well use it. It's effective. And it turns out that if you're bold enough about it, you don't even have to do anything, he said, suddenly understanding. But a man-eater isn't a whore, he said slowly, thinking it out. If you give in, you're contemptible. But if you're aggressive, you're frightening. She nodded. He paused and looked down into the town, full of respectable women, respectably buttoned up to keep the wandering eye of the dreadlord above them from falling on them. Frightening women are a challenge. To some, yes. But we're all a challenge to the hero types, aren't we? Gav thought about Fiari and nodded. This way, I get to do what I want. At least until someone manages to pull me down. Besides, she suddenly smiled wickedly. It was every bit of lustful mischief as her earlier flirtations, but all the more tempting for showing real intelligence behind it as well. Who says I don't actually do anything? He stared at her, poised between fear that she would try to start something right there on the battlements and longing that she would do exactly that. Then he laughed weakly. I'd say I was flattered, but I still don't think you're serious. What makes you say that? She purred, leaning forward. He tried to shrug disarmingly. Because I'm not compliant enough to be your toy, and you don't respect me enough to be your partner. She didn't sit back, but she did cock her head. You continue to surprise me. I'd rather surprise Zarconar, he countered. And you think I can help with that? I'm hoping. Do you know the full ritual? She said, leaning back.
Is this where he's like, I don't know anything?
Some of the blood that had deserted his brain made a tentative feint at heading north again. He resisted the urge to be flippant and say, not anymore. That wasn't an explanation he wanted to give. Instead, he went with, I tried to figure it out. That went badly. She considered him. Do you know why I arrived early? He shook his head. You're right, she said. I am uneasy, and you've been turning out to be more complex than I originally thought. I came to see why you changed. And how that changed the situation. And now that you're here, what do you think? He tried not to visibly hold his breath. I haven't decided yet, she said. She hopped down off the wall, and then suddenly she was right there up against him. Her skin burned even through his robe. Her musky scent made his head spin, to the point he feared that he would tumble over the wall. His hands scrabbled involuntarily against the stone. She raised her face to his, and his mouth opened without his mind's involvement. Her body pressed him back against the stone, her hands pinning his shoulders to the gargoyle's bulk. Her lips were soft, and her mouth was hot, and her tongue insistent. When she pulled away, he could only gasp for breath. We'll see, she said as she disappeared back through the door. His knees gave out, and he slowly sank to sit on the rough stone of the battlement, alone.
He was like, that was mean.
He was like, that was really hot. So I think that's where we're going to stop for today.
Okay.
So this did feel a little bit like a filler chapter or two, but I do think that these chapters were necessary for setting the stage for the rest of what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Currently, we are like at the halfway point. I'm in the middle of chapter 10 and there's only 20 chapters in the book. So things are about to go down, I think.
Yeah, they're going to go so sideways. I can't wait.
I'm curious what kinds of trouble are going to come just with Volevna being there for like an extra, I don't know how much time, but like at least 12 hours extra. I don't know when the others are going to arrive. I'm excited to see how the Garlic Festival turns out.
I can't wait for them to show the scene of him singing.
Oh my God, yes. If she doesn't give us, if Caitlin Rozakis doesn't give us Sirocco singing at the Garlic Festival, I'm actually going to throw a tantrum.
Well, now that we know he's renowned.
Yes, and then was expelled for being accused.
For killing someone.
He was accused of killing someone, okay?
But we all know he killed that person.
He totally killed that person for a better solo. But, yeah, I think there's going to be a lot that happens really quickly, and I think we're going to be in for a lot of surprises, and honestly, I'm still here for it. I think it's great. I'm really excited.
Yeah, I agree. Can't wait for things to go sideways, like I said earlier.
So, did you learn anything today?
I learned when in doubt, sell garlic.
Yes, garlic is the answer to everyone's problems.
Have you learned anything about Oblivion?
I learned that the emperor of whatever kingdom you're in is a real creep who tells you that he's dreamt about you.
His whole life.
That's so creepy and weird, and I don't like that.
Well, he dies right away, so.
Well, good. He's a creep. Where can people find us?
They can find us on Facebook.
At A Pot of Sass and Sarcasm.
They can follow us on Instagram.
At A Pot of Sass.
They can send us an email.
At apotofsass@gmail.com.
Or donate to our Patreon.
Why do you say or? They can do all of those things.
I like that connecting word.
And they can donate to the Patreon at patreon.com/apotofsassandSarcasm. Also be on the lookout for our new website that we are hoping to get launched soon.
Soon, TM.
You guys can check out new episodes on Saturdays wherever you find podcasts. And please don't forget to rate, review, share, let people know that you're listening to us. We are really excited to grow our audience and do some more exciting things. Speaking of exciting things, I'm sorry, people.
I was going to comment, and it is growing. It is.
It is growing, but I was going to say, speaking of exciting things, Ian and I had ourselves a little podcast business meeting, I guess, about potentially hosting guests, hopefully soon. We have a lot of stuff to figure out still about like how to get
all
more
the technical mumbo jumbo.
Yeah, we have to get the technology to work. But we've started structuring and thinking about outlines for, I guess, different styles of episodes that might not just be for the Patreon shows or the Patreon donors, but if you do want exclusive content, please donate to the Patreon. But for just the public release ones, we are also looking at how to structure some different types of episodes, which will be kind of fun. So stay tuned for that. And thank you so much for listening.
We hope you keep listening.
And we hope you stay sassy.
Later.
Are you okay?
I keep burping.
Are like really struggling to keep your, breathing normal.
Half the time I'm getting stuff out of my teeth because I'm like...
I know, I can hear it. That's what you get. I am going to say this because the listeners deserve to know that I was like, hey, Ian, do you want to record? And he's like, yeah. And then this guy, let me tell you, he comes in and he sits down and he fiddles with our mixer and he just shoves 2 candy bars because he shoved one in his mouth and then started fiddling with it. And then he took a big drink of water and he's like, okay. And he's like, are you ready? And I was like, yeah. And then he like made eye contact with me and shoved a second candy bar all the way into his mouth and then took approximately 5 years to chew it. And then like took another small sip of water and then is like, all right, let's go. And then burped and then hit record. And then since then, you probably won't hear it because I'm very good at editing, but like at the same time, He's been burping this whole time.
I'm
and
leaning away.
You're leaning away, and I will edit it out because it's a weird pause here and there. But like you're burping and you're struggling, and I'm like, my guy, like, do you need a minute?
It's the peanuts from the Snickers.
What? That's causing you to burp?
No, that's stuck in my teeth. That's why I keep leaning back.
Oh my god!
Wow. So you don't hear mouth noises.